The sound of shattering crystal exploded through the dining room like a gunshot, freezing every conversation mid-sentence. I felt the impact first, a sharp sting across my left cheek, before the warm rush of liquid and blood began to trickle down my skin. Red wine mixed with crimson droplets, soaking into the delicate white fabric of my Christmas dress, the one I'd chosen so carefully to fit in with Ethan's family. For a heartbeat, the entire world narrowed to that single point of pain and humiliation. Maids must obey. Those were the words Vivian had snarled right before she hurled the glass. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the soft patter of glass shards hitting the polished hardwood floor. I stood motionless, the half-empty bottle of Merlot still clutched in my hand from moments earlier when I'd politely declined to pour her another glass. Around the long mahogany table, Ethan's relatives sat like statues, his aunt pressing a linen napkin to her lips, his teenage cousin's eyes wide with fear, the younger children frozen in their seats where they'd been giggling over presents just minutes before. The air smelled of roasted turkey, pine from the towering Christmas tree in the corner, and now the metallic tang of my own blood. Vivian's voice sliced through the quiet like a whip. "How dare you refuse me in my own home?" Her perfectly sculpted face was flushed from hours of drinking, her signature pearl earrings catching the chandelier light as she swayed slightly. At 62, she still carried herself with the poise of someone who believed the world owed her deference. Silver-streaked hair swept into an elegant chignon, designer dress tailored to perfection. But tonight the mask had cracked. "You think you can lecture me about how much I've had to drink? You're nothing but the little nurse who latched onto my son." The words landed heavier than the glass had. I touched my cheek gingerly, wincing as my fingers found the jagged edges of embedded shards. Blood welled faster now, dripping onto the pristine white tablecloth that Vivian had fussed over for days. I'd helped set this table earlier that afternoon, folding napkins into precise shapes while she critiqued my technique, polishing silverware until my fingers ached, all while biting my tongue against the constant barbs about my simple background. Ethan's father, George, finally broke the paralysis. His face had drained of color, the newspaper editor's usual calm shattered. "Vivian, for God's sake, what have you done?" His voice carried the weight of decades of quiet endurance, but there was genuine fury beneath it this time, the first I'd seen directed at his wife in the 3 years since I'd married into the family. Vivian wasn't done. She pushed back her chair with a screech, pointing a manicured finger at me. She disrespected me, refused to serve the wine I asked for, in front of everyone on Christmas. No less. She laughed bitterly, the sound echoing off the wainscoted walls of their sprawling colonial home in suburban Atlanta. The house itself was a monument to her carefully curated image: crystal chandeliers, oil paintings of ancestors, or so she claimed, and a backyard that backed onto a private golf course. I whispered, my voice barely above the pounding in my ears. "I was worried about you, Vivian. You've had several glasses already." I thought it was enough. The concern had been genuine. Years as a pediatric nurse had taught me to recognize the signs of overindulgence, but she twisted it into an insult. "Worried? About me?" Her laugh turned icy. "You're nobody to worry about me. Just a working-class girl who tricked my son into marriage with those big innocent eyes and scrubs. You think your hospital shifts make you an expert on everything." That's when Ethan exploded from a seat beside me. His chair toppled backward with a crash. "Mother, enough. Stop this right now." I'd rarely seen my husband so furious, his jaw clenched, hands trembling as he reached for me. "Lila, let me look at that cut. We need to get you to the ER." Blood was flowing steadily now, warm rivulets tracing paths down my neck and staining the collar of my dress. "Don't you dare side with her," Vivian shrieked, her voice rising to a hysterical pitch. She humiliated me in front of the entire family. She needs to learn her place here, as the help, not an equal. Ethan's voice grew louder, carrying through the room. Her place is as my wife. Your daughter-in-law, not your servant. The family shifted uncomfortably, his aunt gathering the children to leave. His uncle staring fixedly at his plate, pretending the beautiful feast of turkey, mashed potatoes, and homemade pies wasn't ruined beyond repair. Whispers rippled. This is too much. Poor Lila. Vivian's gone too far this time. Vivian's eyes blazed with wild anger. She's nothing. Comes from a trailer park background. No money. No connections. No class. I don't know what hold she has over you, Ethan. But you were meant for someone worthy of the family name, the kind of woman who understands breeding and legacy. Each insult struck like another shard. For 3 years, I'd endured the whispers behind my back, the subtle exclusions, the jokes about my job and family. They'd seen her make me fetch drinks at parties while introducing me as Ethan's little wife. They'd watched her suggest I eat in the kitchen during gatherings because space was limited. They'd even chuckled when she gifted me cleaning products for my birthday, calling it practical. Not one had intervened. Until now. Ethan gently tilted my chin, his touch tender despite his rage. We're leaving right now. Lila needs medical attention. Vivian hissed her ultimatum. If you walk out that door with her, don't bother coming back. Choose your mother and this family. Or her. The room held its breath. Ethan's face tightened as he processed the words. For a terrifying second, I feared he'd waver, as he had so many times before when smoothing over her barbs. But then he met my eyes, and I saw clarity there, regret mixed with determination. I choose my wife, he said quietly, the words steady. I should have done it years ago. Vivian's face cycled through shock, white, then crimson, then ashen. She'd expected obedience, the same deference Ethan had shown since childhood. You'll both regret this, she whispered venomously. Mark my words. As Ethan guided me toward the door, supporting my arm, I turned one last time. Vivian stood amid the wreckage of her perfect Christmas, half-eaten plates, spilled wine, scattered gifts, looking diminished. Her empire of control cracking. You're right about one thing, Vivian, I said, my voice surprisingly calm despite the throbbing pain. Someone will regret tonight. But it won't be me. We left a trail of blood drops on her immaculate white carpet. Behind us, her screams at the remaining family faded as Ethan helped me into the car. In the passenger seat, I caught my reflection in the side mirror. The cut wasn't deep, but it would scar. A thin reminder etched into my skin. As the blood slowed, a new emotion surged through the humiliation. Pure, burning anger. Vivian thought she'd broken me publicly. She had no idea she'd just ignited something far more dangerous. The drive to the emergency room was quiet except for Ethan's repeated apologies. I should have stopped her long ago. Lila. I'm so sorry. But my mind was already racing ahead, replaying the years of subtle cruelty, the overheard whispers, the lies she'd built her life upon. By the time we reached the hospital, the seed of revenge had taken root. The ER doctor worked with steady, practiced hands, cleaning the wound under bright fluorescent lights. You're fortunate, she told me gently as she applied antiseptic and tape. No stitches needed, but keep it dry and watch for infection. It'll leave a faint scar, but nothing major. I nodded absently, my thoughts far from the physical injury. Ethan sat beside the gurney, gripping my hand, his tuxedo shirt now stained with my blood, face etched with guilt. Back home in our modest townhouse across town, far from the Sterlington Estates grandeur, I couldn't sleep. Ethan collapsed into bed, drained from the confrontation. but I sat at the kitchen table nursing tea, touching the bandage on my cheek. The events of the evening replayed in vivid detail, the laughter of children before the explosion, the horrified gasps, Ethan's stand. But beneath it all simmered memories of how we'd arrived at this breaking point. 3 years earlier, everything had felt like a fairy tale. Ethan proposed on a warm spring evening overlooking the Chattahoochee River, the city lights of Atlanta twinkling below. I was overjoyed as we drove to his parents' house to share the news. I'd heard stories about Vivian, how elegant she was, how she'd raised Ethan with impeccable manners, the social pillar of their circle. I spent hours preparing, a modest navy dress bought on sale. White roses, her favorite. Ethan said that cost half my paycheck from the pediatric ward at Atlanta General. Their home loomed like a mansion from a magazine, grand colonial with manicured lawns, circular drive, and perfectly trimmed hedges. Vivian answered the door in a cream silk blouse and tailored slacks, her makeup flawless, silver hair gleaming. "Mother, this is Lila," Ethan said proudly. "The woman I'm going to marry." I extended the flowers with a hopeful smile. "Mrs. Whitaker, it's wonderful to meet you. Ethan speaks so highly of you." She accepted them wordlessly, handing them off to the housekeeper with a curt, "Put these in water." "Rosa." "No, thank you." That should have been my warning sign. But love blinded me. Dinner that night felt like an interrogation. Vivian probed my background relentlessly. School, parents' jobs, upbringing. Each answer disappointed her further. When I mentioned my father ran a small auto shop in a working-class suburb and my mother was a receptionist, her expression shuddered. "How quaint," she said in a tone dripping condescension. "And nursing? Pediatrics, you say? How very noble." The word noble landed like an insult, implying my job was beneath their status. Ethan tried to deflect. "Mother, I'm in love with Lila." But Vivian pivoted smoothly. "Speaking of accomplished young women, didn't you mention Claire Vanderbilt returned from her European studies?" The message was clear: I didn't belong. The engagement party at their exclusive country club amplified the cruelty. Vivian hosted, inviting Atlanta's elite, doctors, lawyers, old families. I scrimped for an elegant but affordable gown. Upon arrival, she inspected me coolly. "How charmingly simple," she announced loudly. Instead of introducing me as Ethan's fiancée, she called me Ethan's friend or the girl he's seeing, laughing off engagement questions with, "Young men have their phases." She worked the room like a strategist, whispering doubts. I was sweet but not quite our circle. Ethan was rushing. My family lacked pedigree. Ethan, busy networking, missed it. Later protests from me were dismissed as oversensitivity. After marriage, it worsened. Vivian had a key to our home and used it freely. I'd return from 12-hour shifts to find her rearranging furniture. "This won't do, dear. Ethan deserves better standards." She criticized my cooking, decor, wardrobe, job. Why work when Ethan provides? Nursing is so ordinary. At our hosted dinners, she arrived early, commandeered the kitchen, sent me to assist while playing hostess. Interruptions, subject changes, anything to sideline me. The breaking point before tonight had been last year's Christmas gift, cleaning supplies wrapped with a card saying the house needed extra attention. Family laughed uncomfortably, knowing the jab. I'd tried everything, cooking her favorites, thoughtful gifts, caregiving during her knee surgery. Kindness only fueled her contempt. She saw weakness. That night in the kitchen, staring at my reflection, another memory surfaced from 6 months ago. At one of her parties, hiding in the powder room, I'd overheard Vivian with her friend Lydia. Lydia praised Vivian's breeding. Vivian laughed about others' humble starts. then froze when Lydia mentioned Vivian's own transformation from a small West Virginia town called Coal Hollow. Vivian snapped. That was long ago. I prefer not to revisit it. The pause was telling. Vivian had always claimed old money lineage from Charleston, with heirloom photos and stories of estates. But the exchange hinted at fabrication. Sleepless, I opened my laptop. The investigation began innocently enough, but grew urgent. Coal Hollow was a fated mining community. Public records slowly revealed the truth. Vivian Whitaker was born Vicky Malone. Father a coal miner who died young in an accident. Mother a diner waitress. Scholarships got her to State College where she met George. She reinvented everything. Fake family photos from antique stores. Invented genealogy. The damning piece, a 30-year-old local paper clipping about Vicky Malone arrested for shoplifting designer clothes. Charges dropped. But the photo matched a younger Vivian unmistakably. My heart raced. Everything Vivian used to belittle me, class, breeding, superiority, was built on lies. She despised me for representing the life she'd escaped and hidden. By morning, the scar on my cheek throbbed, but purpose solidified. The annual New Year's charity gala at the country club was days away, Vivian's showcase event. Attended by 300 elites, she desperately impressed. Her speech always extolled heritage, values, charity. What if the speech included truth instead? I planned meticulously, using knowledge gained from years of servitude-like treatment, her routines, the pride in her rose garden, featured in magazines, toured proudly. If harmed, word would spread fast. The revenge had two prongs, subtle sabotage first, public unmasking second. Vivian had handed me the weapon by attacking me. Now, the nurse would prescribe justice. The days after Christmas blurred into focused determination. Ethan tried bridging the family rift, but Vivian's silence was icy. George surprisingly supported us quietly, sending flowers with a note of apology. But my mind was on the evidence accumulating on my laptop. I cross-referenced archives. Social Security traces, ethically limited but public data helped. Old yearbooks digitized online. Vicky Malone grew up in a cramped house on a dirt road. Worked odd jobs. Reinvented upon marriage. No trust funds. No estates, just ambition and erasure. The Rose Garden became Target 1. Vivian's pride, 20 years cultivating award-winning hybrids. Featured in Southern Living. Visible from the street. Neighbors gossiped. On December 27th night, masked and gloved, I slipped into the backyard under cover of darkness. Clippers worked silently, reducing bushes to stumps. Red spray paint across the white fence. Maids must obey. Her own words. Returned. By morning, calls flooded. Neighbors noticed. News spread through social circles. Vivian's world began fracturing. She confronted Ethan, accusing me without proof. He defended fiercely. George confronted her lies directly with the anonymous envelope of records I'd mailed. Their marriage strained visibly. Flashbacks to mistreatment fueled my resolve. Countless parties where I served while she shone. Comments about my common accent, clothes, lack of refinement. The time she made me miss a shift to run her errands. Then criticized my priorities. Overheard conversations revealed more hypocrisy, mocking newcomers' backgrounds while hiding her own. The gala approached. I bought a striking black gown. Practiced my composure. Ethan worried but trusted my insistence on attending. We can't let her win by absence. At the club, decorations gleamed, gold accents, white florals. Vivian greeted in silver gown, smile freezing upon seeing us. How nice, she said coolly. I smiled back. Wouldn't miss it. Prepared a surprise tribute. Her annual speech began at 9, reflections on blessings. Heritage. Giving back. Knowing where we come from defines us, she proclaimed. I was called on stage unexpectedly, arranged via discreet tip to organizers. Laptop connected. First slide. Elegant photo of Vivian. I praised her publicly at first, building tension. Then switched. The real story. Slides revealed birth records. Arrest photo. Employment history of Vicky Malone. Gasps filled the room. Vivian paled. I detailed the humble origins without shame, contrasting it with her cruelty rooted in fabricated superiority. Final slide. Security footage, obtained creatively, of the glass throw. Vivian lunged, screaming. Ethan intervened. Whispers erupted. Phones recording. Her reputation crumbled. As we left, her desperate explanations fell on deaf ears. The exposure was complete.